Man, doesn't that video just make you want to
Yeah, like
put
pretty
on
good
your,
school, right?
your gear and just like go up the mountain? Hey, I'm David Valier. This is Nathan Plowman, the director of MSU. So glad you guys can join us today. And today we're doing an inside look into MSU, and no two better people to give an inside look than these two.
We've been in part of this school for a long time, haven't we?
Yeah, it has been a long time. I've been here for 15 years, but you've been here.
I came
much
in
longer,
1998.
Right? Wow. Yeah.
That was last century.
Yeah. So, yeah. So
We've both been part of this school for a long time.
Yeah, very long time. We've been through like all of it, like pretty much anything you could think of, right?
Yeah, we've been thrown out, or almost thrown out of the school.
Right.
We've been,
Story to come later.
yeah, stories.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. But Nathan is now the director of MSU. He's the director of our Special Forces program that we'll actually talk about in a little bit. But yeah, he's the guy that I would say that if we knew, the apocalypse was coming, the end of the world, I would call Nathan. Well, I guess we wouldn't be able to call because the phones would be down. I'd find Nathan and I'd follow him into the dark.
Ah, yes, that'll be your first mistake, right?
But that is the truth. So anyway, Nathan, talk to us today. What do you have on your heart as far
Yeah,
as
so today
MSU?
we want to just kind of dig deep into Morningstar Morningstar University.
Yeah.
We both came to Morningstar when it was called Morningstar School of Ministry.
Yeah, MSM. Yeah.
And now it's Morningstar University and the College of Leadership. And so we want to talk a little bit about the evolution of the College of Leadership, how it came about, why we're here now, and then talk about the school, the programs, the classes, just to give you a bit of an insight into what we're doing here. We haven't done a great job of telling our story recently, and the school has changed a lot in the last 4 years. We've done a lot of things. The whole program's been revisited and kind of reworked, and so we have a lot of things going on that we don't really have on our website right now. So we want to take some time this morning and just discuss the school, the programs, the electives, and Dave Valier did mention that he's the director of our worship school.
It's true.
We'll talk about that in the next session, how much of an impact that's had in the kind of the landscape of worship in today's world.
Yeah.
It's really been impactful. So
Yeah, it's been awesome. And, I want to encourage you, if you're watching and you're not one of our students, or maybe if you even are one of our students and you know someone or have someone in mind that is looking for something like this,
Absolutely.
Go ahead and share it on your page, share it to their page, get them to tune in, because honestly, there is a lot of people out there who are looking for something like this, but don't necessarily know it's out there. Because we are a ministry school in a sense, but we do so much more. I'd actually say we're so unique in the sense of a lot of places you go to like this that are a ministry school, it's very ministry focused, which is great.
Right.
But we actually, I think what's so unique about us, we give tools that can apply to all areas of life, and we view all areas of life as our ministry.
yeah,
So
the
it's
fundamental
really
difference
cool.
between us and a ministry school is that in a ministry school, they're gearing people towards pastoring,
Right.
being involved in ministry.
Right.
Whereas in the leadership school we've created here is we're trying to get people into leadership in any area that they're called to.
Right, yeah, it's really awesome.
And so the leadership skills you acquire here and the leadership capacity that you acquire here can be used in business, it can be used in politics, education, your family, your own personal life.
Yeah.
Because, all leadership starts with us.
Yep.
That's our first thing. We need to lead ourselves well.
Right.
And so these things transfer to all these areas of the world, the 7 mountains, you might say, of culture.
Yeah.
And that's what's really different about us. So we're not really a Bible school, although the Bible is our main text throughout most of our courses. And we definitely uphold the Bible as the Word of God. But again, we're not a Bible school exclusively. We're not just teaching theology, although we do have theology classes.
That is very true. That is very
Because we all believe that leaders should have good theology. And I think you all agree with that leaders need good theology, good biblical-based theology, and not be kind of out in,
Oh, I didn't realize that was important.
lost out there in some kind of crazy world. Because we see too many times our leaders who are not well grounded in the Bible tend to drift off into weirdness.
Right.
And that can take a whole movement in a whole different direction. It's not very healthy. And so we want our people to be well grounded in the Bible and good, healthy theology and understand why we believe what we believe.
Right.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit.
Yep, you go.
How's the quarantine going for you, by the way?
Man, the quarantine's going good. You know what's really my favorite part about the quarantine? It's brought back the bandana. I just love wearing the bandana. It makes me feel like I could just go, I go into a store, I'll just put it on, bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, you look like a criminal.
And no, I know. I love it. So anyway, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're social distancing quite well here.
Yeah, we're trying, but our director over here keeps trying to get us to move closer.
We're working on this.
Yeah, but you know, besides that, quarantine's going really well. I'm really enjoying being with my family, and you'd be happy about this. I'm not like an outdoorsy person by nature, right?
Right.
This has made me just love the outdoors, and I'm loving bike riding and going on, like, we found this huge greenway by our house, and we just go walk on that for miles. It's awesome. So I'm outside every day.
We were
great.
out last night with me, my wife, my family, and our next door neighbors because we've been kind of quarantined together a little bit. But we did a picnic last night by the lake.
Oh, that's
and it's just
awesome.
like seeing all the people out there. There's more people out there than ever before.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like as though people have suddenly discovered this whole new world of just relaxing and just enjoying the outdoors and breathing again and family time and walks.
It's awesome.
I hope they continue that after we get out of this quarantine.
Right, because it shows you how much we were lost in like busyness.
Yeah.
And I'm still getting probably more done now. I'm serious, for real. I'm getting more done now with work and like personal, work, if you would say, than I was before all of this. It's crazy.
It's kind of like we found a place of rest and we're operating from a place of rest.
Yeah, it's weird.
And lack of this noise that we've kind of caught up in the stress of life and the busyness of life. And
Right. It's like what Rick said. It's like the weirdest revival of all time. It's so true.
It's a personal revival.
Yeah, it's just
Getting back to the
crazy.
basics. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it too. I've got a lot of housework done.
Right.
Been spending a lot of time with the family, which can be really good at times and really difficult at times.
Yes,
It's definitely.
I was telling Plowman this morning, speaking of difficult, my son hid. I usually get here early for these things and we could prep and talk. My son hid all my stuff this morning. My deodorant, my keys, my shoes, all over the house. It was like a treasure hunt for my personal belongings. And so I got here right in the nick of time. Yeah.
Joys of kids. All right, so let's talk about the school, shall we?
Yes, let's do it.
So what should we start from?
Well, why don't you just kind of give us an overview? So we kind of generally talk about, leadership, all that kind of stuff, but, maybe we could talk about what does each year look like, accreditation, all this kind of stuff, if that's
Sure,
where you'd like to go.
absolutely. Let's go back a little bit before that, though.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
The history.
the history of
Yes,
this.
I forgot about that, Nathan.
history.
Yeah.
That was a lot of prep time we had this morning. Did well with that. So part of my journey has been, God really called me out of Australia to come to Morningstar.
Yeah.
He told me very clearly when I was in Australia, he's going to take me out of Australia and he's going to take me to the place of the eagle.
Whoa.
He mentioned the place of the eagle, where the eagle predominates the country. I don't know if that's a real word, but it sounds good. But anyway, so I ended up here at Morningstar through some different dreams and visions. And I was here in 98. I was here for 20 years. I was here till 2007. I left for a few years. I moved to Egypt.
Wow.
So I ended up doing some work with some relief agencies in Africa, and I was planning on joining a group of people in Egypt and traveling down to Zambia with some relief trucks, kind of driving all the way down through all those countries, but I got stuck in Egypt. So I flew to Egypt, met these people, then I couldn't go with them into Sudan because they wouldn't give me a visa.
Oh, wow.
So I found myself stuck in Egypt. So of all the places in the world you want to be stuck, Egypt is like not one you'd think about very often.
Right.
And so I thought, well, I had 2 weeks to get my passport figured out. And so I had to wait there for 2 weeks. And I was going to fly to Ethiopia and meet him in Ethiopia. And in that 2 weeks, I thought, well, I'm just going to enjoy this country and explore a little bit. Because, you don't want to go to Egypt and not see the pyramids.
Exactly, yeah.
So I did the pyramids thing, and I did some couple of things around town. And then I felt like I needed to go to the desert and check out Mount Sinai. Because, Mount Sinai's in the Sinai Peninsula, and so I wanted to check that out. So I was preparing to go the next day, and then this guy came up. I was staying in a hostel at the time, and this guy came up, and he saw me standing in the lobby of this hostel, and he was a Boab. Now in Egypt, there's these guys called Boabs, and they're basically doorkeepers,
Right.
and it's their whole life. When you're a Boab, you can only be a Boab, and a son of a Boab can only be a Boab.
Wow.
So basically take care of one building their entire life. They take care of all the mail, they take care of all the deliveries, they take care of everything for that apartment building or that office building. And this Boab came up to me and he handed me a book. And there was a book called Prepared for War. When I opened it up, it said, and the next day Moses arose and went to Mount Sinai. The first thing I
Wow.
read. So I'm like, okay, that's probably a confirmation of where I'm going. So I headed off to Mount Sinai the next day and ended up staying in St. Catherine's Monastery for the night. Got up in the morning and we hiked up Mount Sinai to do the sunrise experience. And so we hike up there and it's freezing cold. We wait for the sun to rise and there's 1,000 people up there who just come for the sunrise every day. And then when the crowds kind of cleared off, I kind of wandered off and just sat on top of this mountain for a while in the middle of the Sinai Peninsula. And I was just kind of like, God, I was working at Morningstar for a long time. That's kind of a season of my life that's over. I'm here in Mount Sinai. My life was meant to be with this new organization, but that hasn't worked out very well. Here I am. What should I do?
Right.
Here's my life. You've always guided me. You've always given me direction. You brought me to this place. What should I do the rest of my life? I give it to you. What should I do the rest of my life? And he spoke very clearly to me. He said, build me an army. And then he started to download this whole, like a big, huge download of all how to do that. How do we create this new, I guess you'd call army for a better word, but not like in a military sense, but in a real spiritual sense. How do we do that? He started to show me this whole idea of a leadership school and what it would look like. And he started downloading it. For the next year while I was in Egypt, I started writing down all these ideas and really developing this idea of a school of leadership to raise up leaders.
You ended up in Egypt for a year?
Yeah, I was there for a year.
So
I actually fell in love with the place. Yeah, I went for 2 weeks.
Whoa.
Because towards the end of the 2 weeks when I got my passport back and I was sitting in this office in Egypt near Tahrir Square where the big riots were. And I'm about to get my new visa to stay in Egypt.
Right.
So I had to get out of Egypt, but I needed the visa. And I felt like I said, God, I want to stay in Egypt. I feel like I need to stay here for a while. And I got a phone call from a school, and they asked me to be a teacher there for a while, and they offered me a job, like within 5 minutes.
Man, that's awesome.
And then I called another person I just met at a church when I was in Egypt, and I said, can I stay with you? And he said, yeah, come stay with us. So I had a job and a house within 10 minutes of me saying that.
Wow.
So I ended up staying there for a whole year and just, taking like a sabbatical from ministry, from life. It was really quite a good time. Did a lot of snorkeling and scuba diving in the Dead Sea.
Of course you did.
Yeah, of course, it was a lot of fun. Traveled through the deserts.
Yeah.
We hiked through the deserts, hiked all around Jordan and Israel.
That's so awesome.
Backpacking, stuff like that. So it was quite an adventurous time for me, but it was a really good time. But then when God called me back to America, it was time to establish this school.
Right.
So I spent nearly 3 or 4 years just trying to find where this school will land, and then God finally spoke to me and said, go back to Morningstar. And that was a very direct word, and I couldn't deny it. I wasn't planning on coming back to Morningstar, not because I had any issues with Morningstar, just I felt like I was moving forward, not backwards. But God told me very clearly, go back and it won't be the same thing. And so, came back and started working in the school again, started working in the program with the Special Forces program and the outdoor leadership stuff. And then the director of the school quit, and Rick asked me to take over, and that was in 2016.
Right.
So in 2016, we turned it into a College of Leadership, and we've been working on that program ever since, and we have been accredited. Last year, we got accredited through AISSC.
Yeah, just come up with some letters.
Something like that.
Something.
And now we're offering associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees in our program. And so the school has definitely grown. We've gone from more of a ministry school to an actual college kind of setting where we're having classes on different subjects. It range from, we talk about business a lot now, of course, now. Because a lot of our students come into our school, and most of them want to start their own businesses. And so we do a whole business course with them.
Right.
Talk about what it means to set up business, how to set up businesses. We have a lot of people in our ministry who are associated with business.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of people coming into our ministry that are high-level leaders from all different aspects of life. That's one of the real benefits of being here, is that we can draw from this massive amount of wisdom from all these people that come through Morningstar, that Rick's affiliated with, that teach in the school, teach in our master's program. And these are guys that you'd know if you heard their names.
Right.
And so it's really important for us, for our students to be able to see these people who are not just teachers. One of the biggest issues I feel, we're in a time when it's a different time, I think, because now in our history, people are questioning the need to go to college.
Yeah.
This is a new thing. This has not been something that's been quite common in the past. Usually it was just a given. You graduate high school, you go to college. That's how you advance in your career. That's how you get good jobs and so forth. But I think now we're seeing for the first time in history, people are realizing that, or asking the question, do I need to go to college? What is college really getting me, and can it help me to be what I want to be?
Right.
And especially if you want to start your own business, especially if you want to start your own thing, college isn't always the best place to go. Now, I'm a big advocate of college. I went to college. I've got a degree in science, and I believe in college. But I think we have to be really careful because colleges, one of the things that really become problematic is that professors become so tenured that they're so far out of the field. And one of the things that we've really strived to do at Morningstar University is not have tenured professors.
Yeah.
People who are just teaching all day long. We want people who are out in the world doing their thing
Right.
and come in and teach as part of their passion to help raise up young people. And that's different because if you're out in the world doing this stuff still, then you're fresh.
Yeah.
You're current.
Right.
You know, I had a friend of mine who wanted to go to school for some technical thing. I can't remember what it was exactly, but he went to apply for a job, and they said, look, if you go to college, you'll come out of college 5 to 10 years behind where the current technology is.
Wow.
If you come to this job, we'll get you through that, and we'll teach you all the current things. And so I think there's just been, there's just a different aspect of college right now that is really not healthy.
Right.
And it's not really giving you the skills you need to really go forward in life.
Yeah.
It may give you the technical skills or the information, but it's not really helping you be a better person. It's not developing your character.
Right.
It's not really developing your spiritual.
It's not even putting you in the middle of it. It's just
Yeah, it's
lots
just
of
information.
information. Yeah.
And so what we're really trying to do here is, yes, give you information, yes, give you training and teaching, but also develop your character.
Yes.
I mean, the difference between a good leader and a bad leader can be character-based.
Yes.
Okay? It's where it's the brokenness inside us. And one of the things we do focus on in our school is healing. We want people healed from their brokenness. We want to see them move forward, to learn how to forgive each other, learn how to let go of offenses, learn how to release things that happen to them so they can move forward in a healthier way.
Yeah.
We all want to be the light of God in this world. But if we are broken, then we can shine that light through through our brokenness, and that comes out as not fully the love of God, but more control, manipulation. And so we want to see that our leaders come out healthy and whole,
Yeah.
and not through that brokenness. So that's a lot of what we do here. We talked a little bit about we're not a Bible school, but we do have a really good theology course.
Oh yeah, a great one, and really good theology.
Yes, we hope. We in the first year of our program, we talk about essentials of theology. That is, what are the essential beliefs that make us Christians?
Right.
The Moravians have a saying that in the essential things, unity, in
Yep.
the non-essential things, charity, in the non-essential things, grace, and in all things, charity. Meaning that there are certain doctrines that are very central to our faith.
Totally.
That make us Christians. And we have to adhere to those doctrines, right? But more so, we need to understand why we believe those things.
Yes.
Where is it scripturally? Can we say, I believe this because this is what it says in the Bible? And that's what the first year program is about. Getting the essentials down. Because, some of the most important things in life is to get the basics down really well. Some of the best sports teams in history are the ones who've gotten the basics done, or get the basics done really well. Not the ones who are very sophisticated, but the ones who really understand the basics of their sport. And so we want to get the basics of theology really ingrained into our students, so then we can move into the more ethereal, more outside those kind of basics theology, and discuss things that are a bit more controversial.
Right. One thing I really like about, at my time was MSM, now Morningstar University. I remember I came in, now I have an Assemblies of God background,
Yep.
back in the day.
Sure.
So my let's just say if you have an Assemblies of God background, you understand that it's our way or the highway. You get what I mean?
Sure.
And so when I came here, I remember at the time the MSM director actually was telling us, hey, we're going to bring in people. Now, as Nathan's telling, we have the essentials. Yeah, we covered all the essentials, the things that we believe that are totally vital to our Christian faith. But then we're going to bring in people for these non-essentials that are going to not necessarily agree with each other throughout the year. And I remember, I was like, well, blasphemy, oh my goodness. But actually, it's really healthy because it actually helped us form helped us have the permission to form our own opinions, to do our own research, to study, to show ourselves approved. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it was really cool because I felt like such a freedom. And that really does carry on, I think, under your leadership as well, because you're allowing people to say, hey, you go and dig into this, you go see what you believe. And it's really cool. I don't see a lot of schools like what we do allow that kind of thinking.
Yeah, we're not trying to spoon feed people, here's what you should believe, this is what you need to be. We're not trying to create replicas of who we are.
Right.
We're trying to say, hey, here's some ideas. You go and study it out, because the only way they're going to learn is if they study it out.
Yeah, to
And
me,
we
it's
can't make it too easy. It's got to be, there's a
Right.
scripture, it's the glory of God to conceal a matter and the glory of kings to search it out.
Yeah.
It's our job as kings to search this stuff out, to really go into it and say, is this the truth? What do I really believe? And a lot of times we throw things out to students that are a bit challenging.
Yeah.
And it causes some upset, but we want to make them think about it. What does it really mean when the Bible says this? Or what does it really mean when God is saying this?
Yeah.
And challenge their beliefs. Because a lot of times when people come to our school, they're coming out of the Christianity based on their parents' beliefs or their Sunday
Right.
school stories.
Right.
They haven't really studied their belief structure very well. And this is one of the issues when people go to college. Because when you go to college from the home, or you may be brought up in a Christian home, you haven't really kind of searched things out very deeply, but you kind of accepted what your parents have told you. You've kind of been to church and listened to what the preacher told you, and you kind of accepted all these ideas, but you haven't searched it out yourself.
Right.
When you hit college and all these professors who have spent 20, 30 years arguing down every Christian they've ever met and mocking them and mocking their beliefs, when they come into that environment, they don't have the ability to draw from
Right.
wisdom to really push back against this stuff, or to even
Totally.
how to stand up against these attacks. And that's why a lot of Christians tend to fall away in their college years, because it's embarrassing. They get mocked for believing these children's stories or whatever it is,
Right.
but they don't really have the depth of knowledge to really push back
Right.
on it.
Or even why they believe what they believe.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so we want to get that into our students very clearly, because, this world needs leaders. I think we all can agree that we need a better class of leaders in this
Yes.
world,
I think so.
in all areas of life. I think there's, what's called the leadership gap, this lack of really strong, godly leaders in a lot of areas of our lives. And that's what I think our mandate here at Morning Star University is, in our College of Leadership, is to raise up a new breed of leaders and to use all the wisdom of the scriptures and all the wisdom of our seniors and our people who have gone before us, to draw from them what they've learned and to take that forward to the next move of God, what God is doing in this world
Yeah.
next.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. So again, that comes from all our teachers being fresh in the field. They're all leading. They're all out
Right.
there doing things. They're not just stuck in an office all day long teaching and grading papers.
Right. Right.
And this is really important to us. And so, again, looking at the colleges that they are today, I think people are starting to realize that colleges are not a good place to send their kids anymore.
I mean,
To spend
yeah.
the pricing is getting out of control as well. I mean, these people are sitting on massive endowments and they're charging ridiculous prices to go to college. I'm from Australia. Our college when I went to college, it was free.
Oh, really?
College was free in Australia.
Wow.
Good college, good level of education. And they started introducing a small fee, like $1,500, $2,000 a year. I'm not quite sure what it is right now, but the sense of paying $30,000, going into debt for 20 years of your life to go to
Right.
college is getting, it's questionable. Why are we doing this?
Totally.
What does it benefit us? And most people who go to college also will end up working in areas outside their degree. That's just a normal part of life. They kind of go to college for science, end up working in law or something like that.
Right.
Whatever it is, they kind of
Right.
get outside their degree a little bit. And so they end up paying off for years. And so between the environment that colleges are creating now, an anti-Christian, definitely an anti-Christian bias in most colleges. It's almost like a socialist enclave these days
Right.
in colleges, pushing these ideas on, or being against everything that we stand for. And then there's high costs, the professors, stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of reasons why people are now questioning, especially Christians, sending their kids to the colleges. And so what we're trying to create here is a real alternative to that.
Yeah.
We are getting a real education, you are getting real training, and you are getting real skills that will help you in the real world. We're not, we're cheerleaders in some ways, but we're not cheerleaders for no reason. We're more drill sergeants in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I was like, cheerleaders isn't the way I describe us, but yeah, sure.
We are definitely encouraging and supportive of our students.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we confront stuff. We deal with stuff.
Yeah, that was something I actually was going to say earlier. You were talking about kind of dealing with deliverance, getting free, that kind of thing here. One thing I love about Morningstar, well, I'll say this. If you know anything about Morningstar, you know that Morningstar is not for the weak of heart in any regard, like, worship, speaking, the things we talk about. But even the students that come here, I have had the privilege to, go and be a part and see the inside of many ministry schools. And a lot are really, and I'm saying this in the best way, they're just really, I'm trying to think of a good word. They really nurture in a really great way. And I don't want to belittle that.
Sure.
But I believe we do the same thing at the right times, but
Right.
a lot of times we are, when someone's like, please, like, tell me what to do. We're here being like, you got to figure it out,
Right.
And like you got to get tough, and like you ain't in high school anymore. Like you got to start thinking for yourself, And at first, people are like, you don't love us, and that's not the thing. It's we do
We do hear that a lot, though.
Yeah, yeah, we do. But like it's we love you and we want to see you grow
Right.
for yourself, and we don't want what happens if Plowman and David and Rick go away? Can you sustain? That's our
Right.
goal. We want you to sustain with the Lord in your own unique walk, and even with confrontation.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I learned so much here was healthy confrontation. How to have an opinion that differs from, let's say, your leader, and how to approach said person or someone else respectfully and be able to listen and hear it out. It's really healthy, and I think that's one thing I really appreciate about here.
Yeah, all growth is uncomfortable.
Totally.
And so there's a place where, we're not afraid to push people through that uncomfortable period.
Yeah.
We're not afraid to let people feel that discomfort of growth, that stress, that anxiety, or whatever it is that causes them to kind of move into the place of growth. We want to challenge people. We believe people can go out and do great things.
Yeah.
But you can only do great things through great sacrifice.
Yeah.
There's no easy path to greatness. And that's one thing we really kind of focus on. I know that we're going to have Tom Hardiman come on a little bit. And what he teaches in his course on leadership, or biblical leadership, is that there's no easy way to become great in the kingdom. Mm-hmm. If you want to do great things in the kingdom, you want to do great things in life, there's great sacrifice. There's no one you can read about in today's world, in the present, past, in history, who did great things without great sacrifice. We have a saying in SF that the man on the mountain didn't fall there. What that means is the man on top of the mountain didn't just fall there by accident. He had to work his way to the top, step by step, all the way, sucking in air all the time.
Yeah.
The pain, the agony of going up that mountain, that was his journey. And if you're not willing to take that journey, then don't think that you can do great things.
Yeah.
Because that's the journey of greatness. That's a journey that humbles us. That's a journey that develops us, helps us to grow, matures us. It leads us to a place of being able to handle being in that place.
Totally. That's so good.
Being in places, we talk about character a lot, but sometimes we promote people because of their skills. Mm-hmm. I think you see that a lot in the worship world.
Yep.
People are promoted onto stage, promoted into fame and fortune based on their skills, but not on their character. And your skills can take you places your character can't sustain you.
Yep.
And that's the danger. You see that happen all the time. All these people who get famous and suddenly they just fall apart in drugs, their life falls apart, they end up killing themselves, or everything just collapses because they didn't develop the character to sustain the skills or the fame that the skills brought them into. And that's one thing we want to focus on. Yes, you might be a great musician. Yes, you might be a great speaker. Yes, you may be great at this thing, but you need the character to back that up.
Yes.
You need to have good, godly character. Yeah. And that's the development walk that we have with most of our students, is developing their character. And that takes time. That's why everyone's pushing for an online schools right now, but you really can't develop character online.
Yeah.
Online is great for transformation of information, but not necessarily great for discipleship in a real way. And so we want to see people on campus, we want to spend time with them, because usually it doesn't kick in until about the second year.
That is very true.
We start seeing all these, the honeymoon period seems to be the first year of the program. Not always, maybe the first 3 or 4 months. But then in second year, we start to see the real development kicking in.
Totally.
The people are really transforming, the real issues coming out, and really get to delve into what is going on in their lives and help them grow.
Yeah.
And we hope, we're graduating our first bachelor's class this year. So our first people have gone through our 3-year program. And we're really hoping to see where they go from here. We're really looking forward to what they do from here and seeing how our program is working or not working.
Right.
But we're always revising. We're always every year we look at what we're doing. Is it good? Is it better? Can we do things better than what we're doing it? Can we do things more efficiently?
Yeah.
Do we need to change our programs? We're really always evaluating. I think we need to constantly be doing that in our own lives.
Right.
And we do that in the school. So we're constantly trying to be better at what we do, because raising up leaders is a challenge.
It totally is. I mean, and I think that's another cool thing about Morningstar. You literally never know what you're going to get. Now, that doesn't mean we don't plan. That doesn't mean we don't. But we are totally, and I think it's something I actually really respect, is that we're totally okay with being like, hey, this isn't working, or hey, God's doing something different.
Right.
You know, and it's so, you know, when we use the word adventure a lot, we ain't kidding. This place is all about adventure, not just in SF and the worship school and everything. It's just it's an adventure, and it's awesome because I feel like that's like following the wind of the Spirit, like following the Holy Spirit. And
Absolutely. I think that we have to leave time for that because there is
Yes.
our plans.
Right.
But I kind of tell our students, our plans are always plan B. Plan A is that God turns up and does what he wants to do in the classroom.
that's where we're going.
But plan B is if God doesn't turn up, then we'll go back to our schedule and keep moving forward.
Right.
But there are times in our years when things will just shift.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of take a different track for a while. The students may be going through something a little bit different, so we may just cancel some classes and go a different direction with some things. So we do follow the Spirit in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
We are very biblical based, but we're also trying to follow the Spirit as well and bring the Spirit into the classrooms.
Right.
Because the Spirit is the one who teaches us from the Word
Absolutely.
and reveals to us the Word. So, yeah, it's quite an interesting school to be in. We're very flexible as far as allowing students to explore other areas of their lives that they're passionate about. We have a student right now who's off on a boat doing an internship on a boat.
Who?
Isaac. He's off on a boat right now.
Really?
For 12 weeks. He's going to be sailing all the way down through the Panama Canal and up around to Alaska or something.
Whoa.
He's doing a whole internship with a Christian crew, learning how to sail, learning how to,
That's awesome.
manage a boat. A 50-foot catamaran of all things. So that's exciting.
Wow, I didn't know that.
We have 4 guys right now stuck on an island in the British Virgin Islands.
4?
4 guys who are stuck there right now because of the quarantine. We went there to work with one of our former students, this lady who purchased an island out there, and they're working with her and doing an internship with her right now for the next month.
Man, how terrible.
Yeah, I know, right? We're
what-
stuck on an island quarantining,
Oh, gosh, oh no.
private island in the British Virgin Islands.
I feel so bad for them.
We want our students to go and experience these things. You know, you're only young once, and you don't have a lot of attachments and connections until you get the option to go out and do these things. And because these will change your life. This will change your
Right,
life forever.
right.
And you can't do that when you have kids.
Nope.
You might want to
Yeah, try.
run away to a private island for a while, but you just can't get to do that.
Right.
So anyway, so what else are we talking about? Where are we at?
Well, we were just talking about kind of like the heart of the school, the accreditation. You haven't really mentioned masters too much. Are you wanting to go into that?
Yeah, so we do have the bachelor's, the 3-year bachelor's, 2-year associates, and then we also have a 1-year master's program. Now, this is really a new thing. This is the 2nd year we're running it right now. And what it is a master's in leadership. There you got the screen coming up there, I believe. And it is a 12-month program. You come into the school, come into Morningstar for 3 days a month. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday kind of deal. And you'll do these intensive classes. The speakers are world-renowned
Yeah, they're awesome.
experts in their field. We've got people who've worked in government, military, business. People who've done great things in these fields come in, they spend time with you. I think they're showing some of the speakers right now. There's Rick and Dave and Mark Nuttall, who worked with the Reagan administration in economics. There's General Boykin, who is the head of Delta Forces. There's Lance Wallnow, who does the Lance Wallnow thing all over the place, well known.
Nikolai
Papadopoulos.
Yeah, I can never say his last name.
I think that's right. I hope that's right.
Papa
Apology if it's
Lopalao.
not. He was a CEO of Aston Martin, I believe.
Oh yeah, he was the CEO of Aston Martin. He's a prince.
Yeah,
Right?
incredible stuff.
Yeah.
And then we have some other people there. My eyesight. Oh, there's a great guy. Look at that
Mike
guy.
Gottfried.
Nathan Plowman. Wow,
Nathan
incredible
Plowman.
speaker there. Who else is there?
He's okay.
Al Woods, NBA player. Michael Fickus, author. These are all incredible people in their own right. The course is amazing, what they teach. And because the class sizes are small, you get to actually spend time with these guys. It's not just a lecture situation. It's sit down, have dinner with them. You have breakfast, lunch, and dinner all together with the speakers. You get to engage with them, you get to talk to them. They're very available to talk to you. They really enjoy the time with the students. Now, this is a bit of you need to have a bachelor's in order to get into this program,
Right.
of course. But this is great if you're out there doing stuff already, but you want to increase your learning, you want to increase your capacity for leadership, you want to do better at your job, you want to learn more skills. This is a great course for those. If you have a small business or you're working in government, whatever, this is an incredible opportunity to come in just 3 days a month for 12 months. And then you just kind of, again, you hear from some great leaders about some really interesting topics that as diverse as is history and theology and leadership and all these things like that. And you get to engage with them and talk with them. So it's a very exceptional program. There's nothing like that really that I know
Yeah,
of.
it's super unique.
With that amount of contact with the leaders and the speakers. And again, these aren't professional lecturers. These are people who've gone out and done
doing
incredible things with their lives. And some of them are retired, some of them are kind of stepping back right now.
Right.
But most of them are still involved in politics or still involved with businesses, still consulting.
Yeah.
These guys charge thousands and thousands of dollars just to speak in some places, and you get to come and sit down with them and talk with them and engage with them. So it's really an incredible program.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So again, that's the master's program. It's on our website as well. Our website being morningstaruniversity.com or mstarm.com.
Yep.
So check that out if you're interested in the master's program. So yeah, where were we at? What time is it?
It's
a couple minutes.
9:45. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about our courses.
Yeah.
Now, again, we talked about the 3-year program, 3-year bachelor's, and we have the 2-year associates, and then we also have just the 1-year standalone, kind of like a gap year. A lot of our students want to come out of college, do a gap year, and then come out of high school, do a gap year somewhere, and then go to college. And this is a great place for a gap year because, again, it's going to get you the foundation you need in theology, in spirituality, in leadership, in your own life, to be able to go into college and survive the college experience in a healthy way, if that's what you want to do. If that's what you want to do. So again, the courses we teach in first year are focused around biblical leadership, and we have Tom Hardiman teaching that. Tom Hardiman's been a pastor for
a long time.
A long time,
Awesome.
incredible experiences, incredible wisdom. He's seen everything. He's been through everything himself, so he understands the path. And so the biblical leadership program is really developing what it means to be a leader in a biblical model.
Yeah.
And then we have Justin Perry, who's our lead pastor here at Morningstar. He teaches our theology course.
Yep, theology, eschatology.
Yeah, he's very passionate about the Word. He's very passionate about combining the Word and the Spirit. And so it's an incredible class. It's digging very deep into these essential theologies. And then we have Rick Joyner teaches. He teaches on the prophetic perspective, a bit of history and prophecy and what it means, what times we're in, how do we read the times, how do we understand the times we're in. Then we have spiritual disciplines. So we learn about prophecy, which is the big thing in Morningstar is about. We learn how to prophesy, all the issues around prophecy, and we get you guys activated in how to be more prophetic. You know, the Bible says that, Paul says, I hope you all can prophesy, and we believe that everyone can prophesy. Not everyone's called to be a prophet, but we can all prophesy. We can all hear from the Lord and speak what we're hearing from the Lord. We can all get revelation. God's always speaking to us. We believe that in this ministry. We don't believe that was a thing that happened back in the day. We believe that God speaks to us, and how does He speak to us is a question. Or how does He show us things, whether it's pictures or words or dreams or visions, and then how do we use that in our lives, or how do we help other people through that process? So we talk about prophecy a lot, intercession, prayer, fasting, these kinds of spiritual disciplines that help us grow spiritually. And then we also have a course on financial literacy. We really want to see our students
We cover everything.
be good stewards of our finances.
Yeah.
One of the things that came out of some surveys with students coming out of college was no one ever taught me how to balance a bank account, or not balance my books, or how to balance a budget, or how to understand finance, or how to get out of debt. And so we really want to, how to deal with credit, because I think we're all kind of getting caught up in that trap.
Right.
And so we really want to see our students learn how to be good stewards of the finances God has given them, and how to handle it and make money work for them and not work for their money.
Yes.
And so we have a course on financial literacy that leads into a business course in second year, because we really understand you have to understand money and understand what you believe about money. Because sometimes Christians and people can have weird ideas about money.
Right.
I mean, you might think that people who are rich are evil. That's not true. You might think having too much money is bad. That's not true either. It's what we do with how we steward what God has given us is important. And so we learn to understand money and understand our beliefs about money as well, and trying to break down any false ideas we might have regarding money.
Right.
I would definitely like to have more money, and I think I can handle it quite well. I like to have the test of more money. So anyway, that's kind of the first year program. I also teach a little bit in first year, and that's related to kind of the new ideas about leadership. A lot of what's coming out today, a lot of big organizations like Google have spent a lot of time and money studying leadership, studying teamwork, studying how teams function. And there's a lot of great books out right now. People are really looking into the ideas of emotional intelligence. This is a new idea. The ideas of how to be more efficient in leadership. And so what I spent most of my time doing in the past is studying all these ideas, looking into all the new ideas coming out of the world, and showing them that it's all in the Bible. There's this real famous book a lot of people have read called Good to Great. And this guy, Jim Collins, wrote this book, and he studied all these massive companies that went from okay companies to great companies. And he studied the leaders of each company. And what he really tried to do was not make it about the leader, but to make it about the company philosophy, or make it about the company's, culture, whatever it was. But he kept coming back again and again and again. All the evidence and all the data he collected pointed to it was the leader that was transformative to these companies. And what he labeled a level 5 leader, there was levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it was level 5 leaders that really could get a company from good to great. And one of the main characteristics of that leadership was humility. Now, humility is one of the things the Bible talks about a lot, right? All throughout the Bible is words about being humble, and God will exalt you, being humble, and this will happen, being humble. And so, again, he spent thousands of hours studying all these companies and came to a conclusion that God told us a long time ago: be humble. If you're a leader, be humble. How do we act in humility as a leader? How does that manifest in leadership? When you're the CEO of a company, how do you be humble? How do you live a humble life? It doesn't mean giving away all your money. It just means, how do we become a place where we can actually accept criticism, or we can listen to people's ideas? How do we stay in that place of humility? And so what I've noticed is a lot of these things that the world's coming up with is actually what the Bible's been saying for 2,000 years.
So true.
And so I kind of connect those two things together in our courses, because there are great wisdom in that. Like, the Bible says, be humble. The world says that great leaders are humble. So that's kind of what I teach as well in the first year.
Read the Bible is what he's trying to say. And then you got also in first year, you got people like myself and Ed Perez, who's our spiritual. What would you call him?
He's our student pastor.
He's our student pastor. We come in, and this is when you have to really be grounded in your essential beliefs. No, but we come in and we kind of major.
We have chapel every Friday.
Yeah, on the spiritual side of things. Yeah. So we dive into that kind of stuff. It's really
delve into the different realms of the spirit. And one thing that God showed me a long time ago was, the Word of God is like the rock. And if we tie ourselves to the rock, we can float off into these spiritual realms. But be tied to the rock of truth. If we're not tied to the rock of truth, when we start floating off into these different spiritual realms of dreams and visions, we can get caught up in imaginations, and then suddenly we get drifting off. And we've seen this happen too often with leadership who've come out of different Bible schools and who have really got these incredible spiritual realm experiences, but it's not tied to the rock of truth. It's not deeply tied. And if we're not tied to that rock again, they eventually will float off into this weirdness. And it's okay to be weird when you're in the spirit realm, but it's not the key to being in the spirit realm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like what Rick says. It's like there's good weird and there's bad weird. We don't like bad weird, even though everyone thinks we do. We really don't. But we like good weird.
But good weird is just when the spirit infects the natural, weird things are going to happen. You just can't avoid it. It just doesn't make sense.
And we don't mind shutting down bad weird very quickly.
And if we think it's bad weird, then we'll deal with that. But, but sometimes it's hard to discern that. You have to really be discerning. You have to wait a little bit and to see where they're coming from. But yeah, again, that rock of truth we have to be tied to so we can experience these things out in the spiritual realm. Because again, there's other religions, other cults out there that delve into all these spiritual realms that may seem very similar to what the Christian experience is. But they tend to be adding all these lies and all this untruth to that, which will take you off. And if you don't recognize or don't understand the scriptures and our theology real well, then we will get caught up into some weirdness. We'll start believing in weird, different gods or, all this other stuff. So that's part of the reason why we love having the spiritual realm connected to that and having those experiences. But we want to make sure it's tied to the real correct biblical theology. So that's our first year program. And again, the first year program is really geared towards foundation, laying a solid foundation for our students. And it's also part of this first year program and part of the second year program is our electives. And we're going to take a little break here for a second. We're going to come back after the break and talk about our electives.
Yes.
Now, we have a couple of electives that are really strong right now. We have our worship elective, which Dave Villier here is in charge of.
Yep.
And we have our special forces or our steadfast elective, which is our outdoor leadership elective. Both of these things are a part of our core training in the school and very important towards leadership. But let's have a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to have a little quick word with Tom Hardiman when we come back. Then we'll delve into our electives, and we'll keep going on with this program. And again, if you have any questions, if you're a person out there that's curious about our school, wants to know more about our school, please go to our website, morningstaruniversity.com. But feel free to add some questions on our Facebook feed here if you want. We're looking at them both.
Yep. And hey, again, share this with people that you think would want to know about this. I'm telling you, a lot of people don't necessarily know these things exist, and
Right.
it's up to us to share that with them. So if you can, share it on your page, share it to your friends, tell people to tune in.
And even if you're overseas, we bring students in from overseas all the
Yeah.
time. We have the ability to do that. We have accreditation for the government to bring people in from overseas. So if you're overseas, let us know. We're happy to talk to you about the process of getting you here as well.
Yep.
Anyway, let's have a break.
We'll be back.
Back in 5-10 minutes.
show me what love is. No skin can hold me now. I'm done, I'm breaking down. Come and show me what love is. Come and show me what love is. We are free with the swine love. We let go to the swine love. We are free with the swine love. We let go to the swine Run away, now a son. Oh, my Father, you call me home. Always show me what love is. Run away, now a son. Oh, my Father, you call me home. Always show me what love is. You always show me what love is. We are free.
Hey everybody, welcome back, and I'm back here with Nathan Plowman, and as we were talking about earlier, we're just giving you kind of an inside look into Morningstar University, what we do, our heart, our vision, and now we have one of my favorite people joining us. He is practically family, and I can explain
Almost.
why, because, my wife...
This is complicated.
Yeah, this is complicated. I always get this wrong. My
Write this
wife-
down, draw a picture, draw a diagram to follow this through.
My wife, sister is married to Tom's son. And so therefore we are always in family gatherings together, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all kinds of stuff. So Tom is practically family. But anyway, I'll throw
Yeah,
it to Nathan.
so this is Tom Hardiman. Tom Hardiman teaches our biblical leadership course in first year, as well as some other courses in second and third year. Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm great. It's been a great time.
Yeah, everyone seems to be enjoying the rest, right?
Well, it's not been so much rest as it's been the presence of God.
Yeah.
And that does bring rest.
Yeah.
It's been a real time of separation and time of encountering God in new ways.
That's great.
New every morning.
Yeah, so we were talking about your class earlier on. I wanted you to share a little bit about what you teach and kind of the philosophy of what it really means to be a biblical leader. Can you share a bit about that?
Well, the course is broken down into studying the process that God takes people through in order to uncover the leadership qualities that are in them, and we go through and try and endeavor to get an understanding of the process that God takes people through in order to prepare them for what he's called them to do.
Right, because
What we do look at admirable people in the business community, in the secular world, some of the successes that they've had, and it's surprising how we have uncovered that many of the great successful people in the business world have great character and integrity with them. And so we study those things. We look at the process of God developing leaders like Moses and like David, what that process was. We look at the instructions that God gives concerning what a leader should look like, what their character should be, what their gifting should be. And then we look at Jesus' style of leadership. and what he taught his disciples, and what he told them they should be, and what he told them they could not be. And so that course covers almost an entire year. Here's what I'd like to say is that I was an Olympic athlete, and I had a lot of success in athletics. And I will tell you this: good coaching makes a huge difference, and many people at this phase of their life need some good coaching. And I believe at Morningstar University we offer that.
Yeah, I agree. And so what you're basically saying is that there's no overnight success in leadership. There is this journey or this process that takes decades, years. It's painful, it's difficult, it's you have to endure it sometimes. But that's really what the where the leadership is formed, or the character and the integrity is formed in that crucible of preparation. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, Nathan. And we feel, just looking at the development of MSU, we feel specifically like God has entrusted to us some of the best potential leaders, and we feel a responsibility to help create an atmosphere in which they can grow.
Yeah.
Right.
And develop, and what to expect. And so that's part of our heart in developing Morningstar University, is we feel entrusted with this as a sacred responsibility to take that which is in raw form and help shape it into what God is looking for.
That's really good. And you also teach a little bit in second year and third year. You have a course online about the new breed of leadership. Talk to us a little bit about the ideas of a new breed of leadership.
Well, this goes back to prophetic words that we have received here at Morningstar. And if you would look over on our website, the history of our prophetic bulletins and the things that Rick has written, sprinkled throughout the prophetic bulletins, there are periods of time in which Rick is writing about the emergence of a new breed of leaders. We feel like that's part of our commission, is to help develop that. This style of leadership is something that the Lord has desired for a long time, and it's as if we're watching over a field of the leaders that God sends us, and we're watching this develop. And so it's somewhat, if we could use this analogy, it's somewhat like a farmer planting things, and then God is entrusting us to make sure that this is fully developed. And so in that course, we talk about the process in the new breed of leaders. We talk about the process that God takes people through. What is God doing to make a leader?
Right.
What process does he take them through? And we talk about the development of courage and character. We talk about advantages and disadvantages of having a profile in before people. We cover a whole variety of things, and we look at significant leaders in the Bible like Nehemiah and David and Joseph, and what are the admirable things that they did, and some of the things that they avoided. And I will tell you this, is that we talk about strengths, we talk about failure, and the advantages of people who have fallen, because out of those experiences, some of the greatest moments in your life, some of the greatest teachable moments in your life will ever happen in those kinds of moments.
Yeah, that's great. What would you consider some of the without getting too deep into the course, we're going to do a whole class right now. What's some of the characteristics of one of these new breed of leaders? some basic characteristics? Again, not getting too deep into it all right now, but
Well, I'll tell you where it starts. There's an unmistakable tug of God in their soul and in their spirit. That's
Yeah.
where it begins. They're not really satisfied with the pursuit of things in this life. And when people arrive at Morningstar, some of them are on this quest to hear the answer to that call. And we recognize it when they arrive, that the hunger that's in that person to develop their destiny, what God's called them to do, is something that the vast majority of them feel.
yeah,
They feel like, I can't follow the promptings of, or the tug of the things of this world. And so we consider that really sacred, and we try and nurture that. Now, it's like David when he was anointed prior to Saul, while Saul was still in a position of being the king. David couldn't get away from the call. Moses couldn't get away from the call. Even Peter, after his failure, couldn't get away from the call. And so that's where this begins. It's like nothing else will satisfy. And Nathan, you felt it. David's felt it. I felt it. And at times, what we do is we try and keep people on track, because there's temptation in the process of the development of your gift. Part of the testing that you will go through is that you're going to be visited with experiences where you want to give up.
right.
And that's part of the way that God makes you into the person that he's calling you.
Yeah, one of the other things you talk about,
Trust God with the future.
yeah, one of the other things you talk about also is the shipwrecks of ministry or shipwrecks of leadership. And part of that, one of the other testings you might go through in the process is the shortcut temptation. It's bypassing the process and jumping ahead and being promoted or self-promoting yourself to a position you're not ready for,
Yeah.
or God has not prepared you for yet. And so we see that a lot. We really, this process is so important, but it takes a lot of patience to sit in that process and let God promote you into your position, rather than go the way of the world and self-promote yourself into
Right.
positions and get ahead of your character, get ahead of your training, which when you get into that position, you don't have the grace because you did it through the flesh, and what you do in the flesh, you have to maintain in the flesh. But what God does in the spirit, he'll maintain in the spirit. So that's really one of the things you talk about a lot, is that incredible, the process is so important. And to understand we're in that process is so important for leaders. Because sometimes we just think nothing's happening. But to be in tune with what God's doing and understand I'm still in a process that God's developing me, and he will promote me when I'm ready. Like Joseph in jail. Joseph could do nothing on his own ability to get himself out of jail. He tried a bit of self-promotion, but he could do nothing at all to get himself out of that jail. It was only when God said, now you're ready, that he pulled him out. And he went from jail to king in like hours. That can happen that quickly.
One of the things I love about our faculty is that the things that you're saying, we've made those mistakes.
Yeah.
And so we're pretty transparent about mistakes that we've made, and one of the reasons we are is we want to help people avoid the trip-ups that we have been through.
Sure.
And so, wisdom is not just experience. Wisdom is learning from somebody else's experience.
Right.
And so that's part of what we so enjoy doing and coaching our people, is like, we did this, don't do that.
Right.
I think that's why God put me and Dave in charge.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I've learned a lot from you, Tom, and just hearing, you teach over the years. And honestly, there's been many times, Tom, with the leadership in my life, has been very vital to, kind of warning me about next seasons that I'm
Yeah.
going through. In fact, even the season I'm in right now, I blame solely on Tom Hardiman because of a word he gave me. But it was a very accurate word, and it honestly prepared me as a leader because I was not ready for what was coming, or I was not in my head, And anyway, it was just so key,
Yeah.
and because Tom has walked through so much with leadership, he was able to sit me down various times and really,
Give you the hard word.
yeah, it was.
Stop goofing around. Yeah, it was Tom who when I was out in the wilderness, said I'm coming back to Morningstar, and I said, Tom, I'm not ever coming back to Morningstar.
Right, yeah.
He's like, no, God's calling you back to Morningstar, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then about a couple of weeks later, God said, go back to Morningstar, and I was like, all right.
Right.
And Tom was the first person I called.
Yeah.
There you go, Tom. Great example of a leader, biblical
Yes,
leader.
Totally.
And great to have in the school so much wisdom and so much depth of understanding. I mean, he's been doing this for a long time, and he's been through the ringer, as we all kind of have in some level.
Right.
Tom, is your wife there? Marianne, are you on? Going to throw it to you for a second.
I'm here just trying to.
Oh, here she is. So this is Marianne
You're
Hardiman.
probably going to have to mute yourself.
Yes, mute yourself. It's a good word for all of us. So Marianne Hardiman teaches our
Can you hear me
prophetic.
okay?
Okay,
Yep.
we're doing good. Yep, we can hear you, Marianne. Marianne teaches our prophetic classes. She's one of our teachers as well.
Yeah, I can't hear you very well. Hold on.
Okay,
Let's
slight
do this.
technical issues here.
Okay, there we go.
Need like one of those signs.
It's Zoom.
Technical difficulties. Welcome to the world of quarantine.
Right.
All right, Marianne, you with us?
I am.
All right, let's split screen this. Okay, there we go. All right, we're back on. So Marianne,
I
yes.
teach the perfect training at MSU, and go ahead. I'll follow you, Nathan.
No, go ahead and talk about your classes and what you teach and
Okay, so I teach on the prophetic training, and it's one of my favorite times. The students are so eager to learn, but we base it off of John 10:27, where it says, my sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me. And God is always talking. And so the prophetic is such a important part of Morningstar's DNA.
Yeah.
And from day one, we have taught people on how to hear God's voice. And so as students come in, it's really great because I teach them on the various ways to hear God's voice, because God is always speaking. And when they recognize the voice of God, it's almost like their whole spirit opens up.
yeah.
And they are able to not only hear what God says to them, but they're able to get words for other students. Now, my class is highly interactive. And so it's a little hard to do this online, but I bet we could probably figure out a way. But what I do is I first instruct using scripture basis, and then we do activation. And so it's a really safe atmosphere for the students to learn, to make mistakes, and sometimes we've had some big mistakes, but everybody learns. We take this as an opportunity, as a learning experience, to get deeper into the word and to understand when God is just a still small voice. I mean, he gives us visions, he gives us dreams, he gives us audible words, he gives us pictures in our minds. And so it's learning it's learning the language of heaven, essentially. And once you understand that language, you're then able to communicate that to people. So let's take prophetic evangelism. What do I mean by that? Many times, and I know that our teams that go out use this quite a bit. They'll ask the Lord for a word of knowledge, or they'll ask the Lord for a prophetic word for someone, and they will use that word, and then they will, it's like a door opening. It's like cracking the door a little bit to someone's heart, because that person will hear God's heart for them. And usually it breaks down, that prophetic word or that word of knowledge breaks down the barriers or the walls that they have put up, sometimes like a word of knowledge will go into someone's past and will reveal something that had happened to them, and they'll go, how do you know that? And it's God's talking to me about you, and he wants to tell you that he loves you so much that he would reveal something about you so that you would know his love for you. And so and then you're able to many times witness to them or to explain the gospel to them. And so it's a great tool for evangelism. But when you're first starting out, you probably have heard God speaking to you, but you haven't recognized it. And so, like I said, God is always talking, but we don't always recognize how he is talking. And he can speak to us through the scriptures as well. I mean, you can wake up with a scripture and it will bring you through your day. It will be something that God is trying to tell you. So we strengthen the students in understanding how God speaks to them. And then in the activation, and this is my favorite part, because students get up in front of the class and we walk them through that. So let's say they get a prophetic word. Let's say they get a picture in their mind. I go, now, how did you get that? What came to mind? And then, but many times we miss it in the interpretation or the application. So we walk them through what the interpretation could be. And again, you have to have that witness in your spirit that this is the interpretation. So if they're ministering to another student, and we always, everybody's a guinea pig in the class. And so I'll call a student up and they are probably, their knees are shaking, thinking, oh my gosh, I have to give a word to the students. And, and here I am on the spot. And what I do is I reverse it. I go, okay, now the class is going to give you a word. So they totally calm down. And then the class starts hearing what God is speaking to them. And many times it'll just be a picture, or it may be something that, God may remind you of something that may have happened in your own past that has application. You don't know that unless you speak it. Right. And many times the hardest thing is stepping out in faith. And so I tell my students, I said, listen, many times, starting out for me, I used to say, God, you got to give me the whole thing. You got to give me from A to Z before I get up there. And, everybody kind of laughs at that because you're just learning, and that's your level of faith. But as you grow and mature in the prophetic, like for me, I have to take a step of faith. Sometimes the Lord will highlight someone in the room, and I'll say, could you please stand? I don't have any, but I know the Lord is highlighting them. I just keep seeing them or something comes to mind. And you're going to have to meet yourself. And so as I tell them to stand up, what happens is then I get the word. And so it's a step of faith many, many times. You're not supposed to strive to get a word. You're just trying to listen to what God's saying. So,
Marianne, can I jump in here for a second?
I'm doing a lot of talking.
Yeah, can I jump in for a second?
Let you ask me some questions.
Yeah, so I really like what you're saying, because one of the hindrances people getting into the prophetic ministry is the idea that, what if I get it wrong? What if I'm not doing it right? And a lot of people have experienced weirdness around the prophetic ministry. People who just said dumb things to them, like guys telling girls, I'm going to marry you because God told me that. Stuff that we don't allow in our school at all.
We don't allow that.
And so one of the things you really address...
That's actually a pet peeve of mine because...
Yeah.
Yes, we
don't do that.
I've had students do that in the past.
Oh, no.
And we
And
smack them
I
up
say,
the head.
listen, you cannot say that God told you to marry this person.
Right. It's just not right.
This person, the woman is probably saying, well, God's never told me.
Right.
And so these are really practical things. But let me tell you, we tell the students that we're going to follow guidelines, and it's edification, exhortation, so building up, exhortation or encouragement, and comfort.
Right.
And so
these are the guidelines in Corinthians, right?
we make sure that what we're doing is we're following those 3 guidelines. And especially this year, the students have been really, really great. I mean, some of them have stood up and said, you know, I've got this word, and it's always followed those guidelines. So I haven't had to worry about that. We don't, for example, we don't say, oh man, I saw you in a car accident. No, we don't say that. What we try to do is, let's say somebody does reveal that to someone. Well, what you're supposed to do is to pray that, not necessarily prophesy that over to someone, but you could say something like this, you know, just be careful as you're driving. The Lord just told me to, you know, that you need to be careful. So it's also the way that you speak that word. Now, let me tell you this. There's in Proverbs 25, I believe it is. It says a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver.
Right.
And so you want those words that are going to bring life to someone.
Yeah.
If the word brings confusion, if the word brings depression, if the word just, you know, makes you feel terrible, and I'm not trying to say it's a feel-good word, but you have to wonder where that word is coming from. Where did that word originate from? Is it a plan, an assignment of the enemy? We don't want to prophesy the assignments of the enemy. We want to prophesy God's plans. And in Jeremiah 29:11, it says this, for I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. This is God's word. Plans for good and not evil. Plans for a future and a hope.
Right.
And so we've had students that have, like, for example, if I can just, I have time to do this?
Well, you're teaching right now. You're going to do some highlighting, but, you know, you can't stop a teacher from teaching, right?
So we've had great interactions with the students. We've loved it. It's been encouraging to me. It's been encouraging to the students. It's been a great class.
Yeah, we don't want to
overall.
share all our secrets here today. We want them to come to school and learn this stuff. But we really appreciate your passion. You know, what I was trying to get to before was the idea that we're not afraid of mistakes. We're not afraid of the students trying new things and learning through mistakes. There's a scripture in Proverbs again that says, where there is no oxen, the stall is clean, but much increase comes with the strength of the ox. What that's really saying is, if you don't want increase, then sure, have no ox around, and we know there'll be no
No mess.
no mess, no manure, no whatever you want to call it. But if you want to have that increase, you want to have that strength, you're going to have to put up with a bit of stuff, manure, crap. I guess can we say crap? I don't
You
know.
can say crap,
All right. So you got to put up with some crap, and so that's what we're not afraid of that here. We're not afraid of students making mistakes. We're going to help them. We'll walk them through it.
Right.
Because it's the mistakes that help you learn to know, yes, that was God. No, that wasn't God. That was me. And so that's what what you're doing in the activation classes. We can split this, screen this with Marianne again. What you're really doing, Marianne, is you're helping them get past that initial hindrances or the fears and allowing them to make the mistakes and giving them the freedom to actually learn that, oh my gosh, God is speaking to me. And I've seen it many times, and we've seen it many times, when this light comes on in the student's mind or in their spirit, where it's like, oh, God's been speaking to me a lot. And they start sharing what God's saying, and people are like, oh, that's me. That's what's going on in my life. And they start to reveal stuff, and it's like this incredible, like, open door now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And God does speak to us all differently. And so learning to understand how God speaks to us, whether it's through our senses, whether it's through our mind, visions, dreams, you know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so it's a great class.
It's a fun class, and I think the activations with the students, you know, standing up or going out, perhaps acting on a word of knowledge or a prophetic word that they've gotten, increases their faith.
Right.
So then they think, wow, if God's speaking to me now, I can really act on this. And they're learning, they're listening, and they're not missing it. And it's, I don't mean they're not making mistakes, because we all make mistakes, but they don't want to miss hearing his voice. So it's almost like fine-tuning the radio station, where you're dialing in, trying to really understand what God is saying. And it's the most exciting thing when you're communicating with the creator of the universe.
Absolutely. Well, Marianne, we appreciate you. We appreciate what you do with the class. And Tom, thank you for sharing with us. As you can see, we have very passionate teachers.
Yes.
Very passionate about their subject and very wise, and a lot of knowledge as well. So thank you, guys. Appreciate you coming on today. Tom, are you there still? Are you going to say goodbye to us? All right.
I don't know.
Tom's
where he
gone.
is, so
All
I'll
right.
say goodbye for him.
Thank you, guys.
For me.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marianne.
Take care.
You too.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving right along,
Yeah.
let's talk about the worship school.
Yes.
One of the things that we really have really developed here at Morningstar is a culture of worship.
Right.
This is a part of our heritage, I believe, part of our whole makeup. So why don't you talk about you being part of this for a long time?
Yeah, I'll give a little history. I know Plowman gave his kind of story, how he got here. I'll start at the beginning, and then I'll be brief, but I really want to focus on the worship school here. But just so some of you can know about me, I pretty much discovered Morningstar in my teenage years. I don't remember, how long ago that was, 2000 something. And I remember I saw them on TV in a hotel in Atlanta. I was a part of a youth group, so of course, what else are we going to watch besides Christian television, right? So, I can't remember, it was probably God TV or Sky Angel or TBN, something like that. And I see what looks like to be a hippie gathering, in my opinion. I was just like, this does not look like a church that I've ever seen, right? So there's people dancing all over the place, music like I've never heard. And what I thought was Ellen DeGeneres dancing like a wild woman on stage. Well,
Susie Yara?
yeah, little did I know that was Susie Wills, or as she is now, Susie Arai, and one of the worship leaders here from the beginning. Then the camera's panning throughout the stage. Then there looks like there's this guy in a tank top and khaki shorts with I remember, and he looks like Jesus playing the electric guitar, just shredding. Well, that's Leonard Jones. So anyway, all that to say is I was hooked. I was like, these are my people. I've never seen anything like this. So I started kind of really researching what Morningstar was, getting their music. It just really changed my life. And I moved here in 2005 specifically for the worship. I didn't know who Rick Joyner was. I love you, Rick, but I didn't know who you were. I didn't know who Steve Thompson was, any of these guys. And so I moved here immediately for the music right out of high school at 17 3/4 of, that's how young I was when I moved here. So anyway, came to MSM. Had quite a journey. Won't go into it because we need like a
He had a process of leadership.
yeah, process of leadership for sure. We need like an uncensored. That's maybe a new layer of Morningstar TV I could add.
After dark.
Yeah, Morningstar TV after dark. But yeah,
Tell those stories.
something like that. But anyway, so I had a long process here. Had many highs and lows. But let's just fast forward a little bit. I came back to the Lord really, and to Morningstar around 2010, 11, and started being on staff here. With Molly Williams, if you know who that is. She was the worship director here for a while. And just really, that kind of began my journey back into Morningstar, really into leadership, all that kind of stuff. And so fast forward a few more years, I became the worship director here. And Plowman, I think the same year I became the worship director, also returned to work for, or maybe
Yeah.
it was a year after.
Yeah, it was around that same time.
Yeah, also returned to work for Morningstar University.
The Gathering.
Yeah, and so, it was the Gathering. So, things began to shift. At that time, Leonard Jones was in charge of the worship school, which he laid an amazing foundation. Leonard is so good at really demanding excellence from musicians, and you cannot help but grow musically with Leonard Jones. Like, you literally can't. If you either die because you just aren't good, or you get better, and it's really awesome. So anyway, he laid such an amazing foundation. But, when Plowman came on, I started to transition into leading the worship school, and I felt like there was to be a big shift within the worship school on how we approached it. By really taking the history of what Morningstar Worship had, but then also bringing in this new realm of lifestyle worship,
Right.
Which is something I really carry, which is a lifestyle worship. It's not just like you do it at Sundays or conferences or when you're on stage, but it's an overflow of who you are, and that bleeds into your talent, into your skill, into your discipline, all that kind of stuff. But first and foremost, you've got to be a lover of worship and a lover of Jesus, And so anyway, so we really started focusing on that. As we began to focus on that, we saw the school really begin to grow and explode.
Yeah.
We went from, I think it was 8 students to nearly 30 and worship school students. And we've just seen it really expand, really grow. It's continuing to grow, really continuing to get traction. I think this second year program has been one of the best, most rewarding things I've been a part of in quite a long time.
So the students do 3 years.
Yeah.
And so walk me through the process. So first year they're focusing on what?
Yep.
And second year they're focusing on what?
Yeah, first year you're focusing on really developing your love and identifying your love for worship and for Jesus. That is the main thing. We are not concerned about you on the stage. We are not concerned about you.
Fame, fortune.
Yeah, fame, fortune, all that kind of stuff. What we're concerned about, that's like the least of your concern. What we're concerned about is love Jesus, love worship, know why you're doing this, and then we're also concerned about your basic theory knowledge, music theory. That's something that we really dive into probably more than any other worship program out there. We dive into songwriting basics of that. Really the basics is what we're going after, but on a higher level than what you're used to. I mean, you're going to be very much so challenged if you think you're going to come here to learn how to write a 4-chord worship song. You are going to be shocked when you get here, because that is not what we're after. We're after unique sounds. We want to go what you have inside of you. We are not looking for you to be another Bethel or another Morning Star or really another anything. We want you to be
Coldplay.
you. Yeah, that's not what we're after. We want to break you of that and find the sound, the indigenous sound in you. So let's just say this. If you come to us and you're from Brazil and you try to sound like America, we don't want that. We want your sound. We want, you get what I mean? So we're after that. So anyway, first year is all about kind of developing that worship lifestyle in you. Now let's transition to second year. Second year, we start kind of giving you a little bit of a taste of leadership. You start getting on the stage. Again, the stage is not the end goal at all. The stage, if that is the end goal, trust me, we will beat that out of you. Okay, but it is not the end goal. Now, it is a privilege. It is a part of it. It is actually a huge, responsibility, and we want to put the weight of that on there. So, second year is kind of diving into that. Second year is also, beginning to help out with the first years. You start to kind of get into the integration of going out and taking what you've learned and doing what
discipling and mentoring. The first years.
And so it's really awesome. It's still huge learning curve. Second year, second year is I've kind of made the term of this for second year, this upcoming one. It's get better or get out. And I know that kind of sounds harsh, but it's true. We don't want just another first year experience where we're coasting and kind of like, in a sense, coddling and just like being like, this is where we're going to kind of kick you out of the nest and say, fly.
Right.
And see what you can do.
You got to be serious. I mean, you're standing in front of the people of God.
Yeah.
And helping them enter into the presence of God through worship. And so that takes a lot of soberness.
Yes,
to understand your role in that process. And 'cause especially if you get that little bit of fame and desire for self-recognition into you,
right,
then you're really taking the glory from God.
Right, totally.
That's a very dangerous place to operate in.
Totally.
So these worship leaders, they're in this very fine line between,
right,
and people entering in versus people entering into to worship them versus worshiping God.
Right.
We want to make that really clear to the people, to our students especially, the weight of that.
Yeah, and it's so important because in the past, this has nothing to do with anybody. It's just people come here and they just want to climb the ladder as quick as they can, and I've seen so many people fall on their face because of that. But it's like it's interesting because honestly, the ones that usually get, I don't want to use the word promoted, but usually get highlighted are those that have that natural overflow. They're the ones that end up running the race, long. They don't fall off. Because the stage was never their goal.
Right.
And that's really what we're after. So second year, it's a whole nother experience. It's a whole nother level. It's a whole nother, challenge. It's really being kicked out of the nest. You still got a safety net underneath you in a sense, but we cover things like I said in both first and second. Really, in second year, we really go hard after this one. Is advanced theory. You're required to write songs. You're critiqued on your songs. You have to learn how to start teaching. That's a huge way to actually learn. What we've experienced is people learn more when they are forced to teach.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? So
it's like the medical world. Do one. Watch one, do one, teach one.
Yeah.
They move you from learning quickly into teaching, because that's when you really do grasp a concept by teaching to other people.
Right. So it's really cool, and it's been such a joy to see. And now we've added a third year to this. Now, third year is, to me, the most vital year of growth in a worship school student, really in any of our programs, in their growth. So third year, it is treated as a job. You have to sign a contract, and trust me, with me, I seem like a really like easygoing guy, but I'm also not. Like, I'm a stickler with time, I'm a stickler with tasks, and I'm a stickler with like time management and performance and all this kind of stuff. So pretty much, if you are not delivering in your role as a third year with the job requirements that you are being tasked with, you will be, in a sense, let go. You will.
Yeah.
So I in that one, there is no safety net. It is just like, if you are supposed to be there at 8, you're there at 8. You clock in. I don't want any texts that say, I'm just not feeling it today. Well, guess what?
Yeah, that's kind of across the board for most of our students.
Right.
You can't accept that if you finish first year, you'll get into second year.
Right.
And there's no, if you finish second year, you'll get into third year. We are very selective with who we bring in each year,
Yeah.
who we bring back to each year. Because when people graduate from our school, we want to say that this is someone that we really believe has got
Totally.
the character and the nature of God that can lead and can do well.
Totally.
We don't want to kind of just throw degrees at people. We don't ordain people when they graduate from our school. That's not automatic at all. We have students who have been ordained after they have left, and we've worked with them.
Yep.
But that's not an automatic situation here.
Right.
We want to see people actually walk in their calling,
Yeah.
and part of that is the worship calling.
Yeah.
We want to make sure these people are lifelong worshipers.
Right.
Not
right.
just fame and then collapse and then. We've seen
Totally.
too many worship leaders in the last couple of years walk away from their faith.
Oh man, it's crazy.
And it's getting crazy.
running rampant.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's because there wasn't a huge foundation there.
Right.
And
They were pushed too far ahead because of their skill.
Totally.
And not because of their spirituality, their character. And that's one thing we're really trying to focus in on first year.
Yep.
So talk to me about, right now in the landscape of worship across the country, there's a lot of people who have come from Morning Star
Yeah.
School.
Wow. Gosh.
When we start
the list
listing them
is
all,
huge. The list
Josh
is huge.
Baldwin,
Yeah.
the Helses.
I'll say this, and I say this to Elevation in Bethel. If you're watching, you know who you got to credit for most of your roster. I mean, Stephen Furtick, actually, and I don't mind saying this. Stephen Furtick actually made jokes years ago, and is like, man, thanks to Morning Star, we've got all the best musicians. Bethel, same thing. We actually have Josh Baldwin started here.
Yeah.
The Helsers.
Yeah. They actually
we're-
met in class.
Yeah, we're a big part of this. My goodness. Kim Walker-Smith. I know that's
Kalani?
not with Bethel, but yeah, Kalani. Oh my goodness.
John Mark McMillan.
Yeah, John Mark McMillan. Sarah McMillan. Goodness gracious. I know there's more. Molly Williams.
Quite a few people out there.
Whalens.
Yeah.
I mean, just the list could go on. Amber Brooks.
So why do you think that is? What do you think? What did we have that helped create these people? Like, what was different about
Oh
the
man.
program?
Well, I have a whole course on this when you come to worship school in the first year, but Morning Star in the 90s changed worship, the whole landscape. Honestly, what you see today, the Stephanie Gretzingers, the Jeremy Riddles, all this stuff that are filling stadiums and is globally really accepted, was so controversial in the 90s. Because, in the 90s and the 80s, it was Maranatha music. It was like, celebrate Jesus. Then here comes Don Potter, Susie, Wills, Kevin Prosh,
warfare
Leonard
and
Jones.
singing all this warfare stuff.
Yeah, it's like
and-
1970s rock and roll worship with all these, kind of ex-hippies. And, it changed the sound. It changed the way people wrote. It went from kind of singing to a very untouchable, lofty God to a God that enjoyed your emotions and what you brought. And he was a God of war. At the same time, he was a God of like,
grace and love.
yeah, it was the writing style, I think, was the biggest thing that Morning Star broke through. I mean, if you go back and listen to like some of these testimony songs where, goodness gracious, you've never heard anything like this.
Yeah, there was definitely some interesting stuff
Yeah,
coming out, Susie and Don. And these people are still connected with the school. So we
Yeah.
still have Don Potter, who was really the father of that whole sound in some ways.
Yeah, totally.
And really did mentor a lot of these people. Even Brian Johnson over in Bethel
Yeah.
was very much. And Don Potter actually helped Bethel create their school of worship.
he started it.
He started it. And so he's here with us. He comes and teaches, and he's incredible. Susie's still around.
Yeah.
She's still part of this mix. Leonard is up in Ohio now, but
Yeah.
he still comes around occasionally. So all these people that helped create this new sound are still here teaching these students.
Right.
One of the things I always thought was interesting was that students weren't allowed to get on stage and sing unless they wrote their own song. Is that still something we do?
Yeah. So it is something we do. It's also something that we've laxed on, just to be honest with you, just because here's the thing. It's always a good starting point to, let someone do a cover here and there.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's good covers. Like back in the day, there wasn't good covers. I'm just being honest, like during that time. Now there are really some good stuff, but we still very much so encourage you need to write your own songs, lead your own songs, because there's nothing like singing your own song to the Lord and then leading people into that experience.
Yeah, and that's your sound. That's your your heart. That's your emotion.
Yeah, so it's very vital to what we do here. I would say 80% of what you hear here is still original.
Yeah.
So
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So we're just replicating our songs. We're just
right. And then we have also a thing here where we actually do the songs within the culture. So let's say Plowman writes a song, I'll do a Plowman song, Plowman will do a Valier song, you get what I mean? And so like
that'd be exciting. A Plowman song.
A Plowman song. Yeah.
Then we'll know God's presence has really truly moved in this place.
Right. But I do want to also say, as far as guest speakers go, I mean, just the other day, a couple of weeks ago, we had Kim Walker Smith zoom into our worship school. They were able to ask questions. Yeah, Misty Edwards. We had James Duke. He's a really well-known electric guitar player. So people of really high influence that you would just be like, oh man, would I love to talk to that person one day? Well, guess what? You come to MSU, you can.
And we do have a philosophy of small class sizes.
Yeah.
We don't want to, have 200-300 people in a class with one speaker. We want to have 20, 30 people that you can actually interact with our teachers. We want to, part of raising up leaders is discipleship. You have to be intimate. You have to be able to speak to leaders and talk to leaders.
Yep.
Listening to them talk in a lecture style is not going to cut it. And so we do keep our classes small intentionally.
Yeah.
So we can have that interaction. So it's very interesting. Let's see this. Daniel, if you're there, can you put the video of Michaela on? This is a testimony from one of our students. Let's just go to that, if you can. Daniel.
Drowning, but you pulled me out of the dark. Your grace, it found me. You healed this broken heart. The joy I forgot, you renewed in love.
I'm Michaela O'Brien. I'm from Massachusetts, and this is my second year here at Morningstar University. I always loved singing. I'd always loved worship, but I never really thought that that's something I'd be doing. I wanted to be an author. I wanted to write novels, so I really thought that that's what I was going to do. When I graduated high school, I went to a university up in Massachusetts, and I did a year there. And I really thought that, like, a 4-year university, I was going for English creative writing. Like, I thought that was my path. I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. But while I was at that school, I kind of started, I guess, just missing home a lot. So I kind of just started retreating into myself, staying in the dorm, not really going out with friends, doing anything. So I kind of lost myself while I was there. And then Morningstar was brought onto my heart, and a lot of what he did in me my first year here was just knowing my identity and knowing who I am in him. And that was something that was really not lagging in my life, but I guess I just wasn't really focused on who I was as a daughter of the King. Being in this school with the teachings, with just everything that I've been learning, it's really brought on a foundation of who I am and kind of brought me back out of my shell. And I think because of that, because of the foundation of knowing who I am, that's when he brought in the peace. And it really has led to this path now of me going into leadership roles, becoming a second-year student, kind of helping with the first-year students. And that foundation of knowing who I am in Christ and that piece of who I am really helps me now in this leadership role to be able to help the new students, kind of to help them in their walk in realizing who they are in Christ.
But you pulled me out of the dark.
In the song, I say, like, I'd been drowning, but you pulled me out of the dark. And being here is when he pulled me out of the dark. And, like, he found me and he healed my broken heart. I've really seen him as that as peace. And just every time I get wrapped up in the Holy Spirit or in my time alone, like that's really what I feel is just a sense of peace. So he really used all of that to kind of reshape who I was and reform my foundation in him.
Sing to you a new song, because you reign, my Jehovah Shalom.
All right. Well, that's Michaela, one of our second-year students this year.
Yes.
Quite an exceptional young lady.
Oh man, she has become, Michaela, if you're watching this, you have become such an amazing, strong worship leader. I was thinking about that during that video. Awesome
Yeah,
to see.
you've seen the growth from first
Yeah.
year and this year, and it's really incredible. That's one thing we really enjoy spending time with these students, is seeing
Oh,
them
man.
grow and seeing them step into this whole different level of confidence and just belief.
It's awesome.
Self-belief.
Very rewarding.
Yeah, it's great. All right, we're going to have another break right now. It's 5 to the hour. I'm going to come back after this break and talk about our very unique outdoor leadership program called Steadfast.
Yeah,
on
I've got a
Special
lot of
Forces.
questions.
We got some questions. Dave wants to go on a trip.
No, I do not.
So anyway, we're going to have a quick break. We'll come back in about 6 minutes, talk about Special Forces program at Morningstar University. Thank you.
As a fan of professional wrestling, that reminded me of like a professional wrestling
Get you all hyped up.
yeah, I'm like, yeah.
That looks pretty exciting stuff,
It
doesn't it?
does look exciting. Now listen, Plowman, in my opinion, is the perfect person to spearhead something like this. Okay,
Okay.
and I have never encountered an SF class, but I have always been curious. I've always wanted to, I've always asked the people like, what's it like, blah blah blah, and it's wild. And so I kind of want to start from the bottom up, and then you can kind of explain. But what is the vision behind this SF program, and kind of what made you start this, and
Sure.
all the implementation?
Well, really, the vision or the initial impetus for all this program came from Rick Joyner. Rick was he had an airline business. I get a
Yeah.
what was it,
It was like a
private jet kind of business where he would fly people around the country. And in that time, he would fly the Delta guys around. They wouldn't fly commercial, they wouldn't fly on military planes, so they'd be a bit more undercover, but he'd be flying these Delta guys around. And what God started to speak to him was he wanted to start seeing like a spiritual Delta force raised up that were a lot more robust,
Right.
more trained, more effective, more able to go into different areas and really create change and affect change, but really kind of undercover.
Yeah.
Now, this program is not a military run around the forest, shoot each other with paintball guns kind of program. We're not trying to be weekend warriors. We're not trying to do that. But what this program really is training up young people to be strong, to be tough mentally, physically, and spiritually. The Bible talks a lot about the trials and tribulations of your faith in your life that will bring about endurance and perseverance and proved character and all that kind of stuff. Well, the best I can say is this program is the trials and testings.
Yeah.
We really are trying to put people through their paces and push them to their limits. Because when you get to your limits is when you start to really know where you draw your strength from. And what we're really looking at is trying to get people to understand that your strength comes from the Lord. And they can do a lot more than they think they can. Usually people have these perceived limits. Like you might say, I can never go out and do a big, long hike like you do on SF, or
Right.
go and survive with no food out in the wilderness for 3 days. But when you, and that's a perceived limit.
Sure.
But when you go out and you do it, then you come back and your limits have now been expanded. You've grown, like I can do a lot more than I thought I could do. And so you suddenly become more aware of life isn't about looking at the problem, it's looking at the solution. And that's what we need in our leaders. We need people who can not just get caught up in the obstacles, but see the goal beyond the obstacles.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot to the SF program. It's challenging, it's difficult. We want to push people, in all areas of their lives. And again, we say that leadership is a difficult path to walk in, and we're going to prove that to you by putting you through your paces on the SF program. Now, again, you don't have to be an Ironman to do this. You don't have to be a super fit CrossFit champion to become part of this program. We will get you trained up and strong enough to do the program. You do grow throughout the year. You do get stronger throughout the year. We do have physical training involved in this process. The hikes will challenge you. The hikes will push you. You'll learn about yourself. You'll bond with your team really in depth, which is a really important part of it. You'll learn about small team operation, how to operate in small teams, how to be effective, how to maintain your focus on the goals despite your situation, despite the fact that you're hungry or tired or exhausted or, haven't slept for a while. People are annoying you. You learn to move past all that stuff and learn to really love each other. A lot of people talk about the family culture that comes through the program. You just really learn to, through suffering with each other, you learn to really bond with each other, take care of each other.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to talk about. A lot of the programs, a lot of things we do in our program are kind of secretive.
Right.
We have a saying that what happens in SF stays in SF, not because anything bad happens, but because we want to protect the new students coming in from knowing what's going to happen to them.
Right.
If they know what's happening, they can prepare mentally for it, and that can defeat the purpose of our program. So we don't talk a lot about what we do on the actual trips. We do show some clips about some of the stuff, but basically, the SF program is a once a month, we go out into the wilderness for 4 days, and we just go through some challenges in different environments, mountains, beach, snow, mountains, cold weather. We've been out in minus 27 degrees.
Wow.
Freezing cold temperatures, but we're well trained. You're not just thrown out there to survive. We actually train you. We teach you how to survive. We teach you how to cope with that kind of temperatures in all different environments we go into. There's medical training with this, and the goal is that strengthen you for life.
Yeah.
It'll strengthen you in all aspects. So now this is mostly focused on missions. We want to keep people in the mission field because people in the mission field know things are tough, and there's things that are uncomfortable in the mission field. There's no air conditioning, there's bugs, whatever it is. And one of the things we're trying to show in this program is that being uncomfortable is okay. You're not dying. You're just
Right.
uncomfortable. Unfortunately, in our lives today in America, we very rarely have to deal with discomfort. We have air-conditioned houses. We have air-conditioned cars. We have food when we need food. We have water when we need water. We have tiles in our bathroom that are heated, so we have to walk on cold tiles. All that kind of stuff. So we've kind of made comfort our kind of a god. And so what we do from the very first day in SF is we take away that comfort. And we get people to really start to operate in discomfort. And just to realize that it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to just continue on when you don't feel great, when you haven't showered for 3 days, when you haven't eaten for a little while, when you haven't slept for a while, when you're out in the wilderness sleeping on the ground, whatever it is. We're getting people to push past that mentally so they can continue on with what they're called to do. And that's important lessons in life.
Yeah.
It's an important lesson in business. It's an important lesson in the church as leaders. So it really does expand that leadership capability in the students.
Yeah. And, I think what's so interesting, I've actually had people, mention to me, now these are all non-SFers, all right, because I don't think an SFer would actually say this, but they've said, when are they ever going to use this in real life? And I've actually seen and heard multiple stories of people that have come out of this program that have really applied what they've learned, like Brittany Turner being one of them. I don't know if you know who Brittany Turner is, but she is actually, really turned into a very successful businesswoman, entrepreneur, she's amazing. And she used what she learned from SF and really credits that to a lot of her success. I've also seen, we had a young man just several months ago break his leg out in the woods just really close to here. I was very impressed because I saw what SF actually learned, and they were applying that. They built a, whatever you want to call this thing.
Gurney.
They built a gurney. And this was all very quick. They got them through the woods, and they did what they learned. And so it was really cool because, this stuff really is applicable. It's very, very valuable.
Yeah.
And
it's learning about stepping in when things are needed.
Right.
So a lot of times in my personal life, I'm happy to sit back and let other people lead. But when the situation calls for a leader, I'm very confident to step in and lead.
Yeah.
And that's what we look for our students to learn is that, yes, you can sit back and watch what's going on when other people are leading, but when you're called to lead and when there's an opportunity to lead, you need to step in and lead. Because if you don't fill that vacuum, someone else will who may not be as qualified as you.
Right.
And sometimes the loudest voice might be the one that prevails instead of the wisest voice. And Brittany Turner says often that even in her worst day in business, she'll look back on the SF program and remember it wasn't as hard as that, and that she can keep on going.
Right.
And so you really do learn that even in the darkest times, in the hardest parts of your life, it's okay, you just got to keep on going, because eventually it will change. Some of our hikes are 30 miles. Our final hike is a 70-mile hike in 3 days. That's a long journey.
Yeah.
And there is no person who can do that easily. Everyone will go through a period of I can't do this, I've got to quit. But you just keep on walking, you keep on going.
Yeah.
And you learn that if you keep on going, things will get easier. There will be a rest stop. There will be some food. There will be a time to sleep a little bit. And then you'll feel refreshed and you'll keep on going. And it's learning how to push through the difficult times and rest during the easy times.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the journey of life, is learning how to balance our lives as we move through it. Now, again, who should apply to this program? If you really want to be challenged, if you kind of watch shows like Survivor Man or Bear Grylls, you think, I want to try that, I want to try something like that, then this is a program that you might want to be part of, because we will push you out there. These situations are real situations. We're not in someone's backyard playing, camping. We're out in the wilderness. We're way out there sometimes. And again, we've chased down bears who've tried to take our food. We've had to deal with a lot of different situations out in the wilderness, but we learn how to do that. And our students, when they come in, some of them have never been camping in their life. Some of them have never been outdoors in their life. But by the end of the year, they're experts in outdoor leadership. They could lead teams, they could lead mission groups. They can go anywhere in the world and survive. They can go anywhere in the world and understand what the environment, what that situation will require of them, how to flourish in that environment, and how to keep on going. They know their real limits, not their perceived limits.
Right.
And that's really what we're pushing people to. We kind of live in a culture where we kind of have this participation awards.
Yeah.
You know, thanks for trying, here's a medal. Well, there's no participation award in SF. You either survive it or you don't. So when you do something, when you achieve something, it's not just, you know, participation award situation. It is you really achieve something. And even in our final hike, you'll you know, we tell our students you'll never meet someone else in your life who's done what you've done on this final hike. And our final hike is our final test. So all throughout the year, we're training and teaching, we're challenging people throughout these trips. But in the final hike, it's up to the students to put together this really difficult objective and to achieve it together. That's their final test, as you might want to call it. But you'll never meet someone who's done that. We've had people go into the military from our school, and they said they never did anything as difficult as they did in our program in the military. Now, these guys weren't in the SF program in the military. They weren't in the berets. They were just regular Army. But, you know, we are really serious about challenging people in real challenging situations. It's not about just, oh, good try, here's an award.
Right.
It's when you achieve great things, you do grow in your self-confidence. You grow in your sense of, I can accomplish more, I can do more. And when you come across other problems in your life, you have that sense of, I did that, therefore I can do this. I can push through this. There is a solution to this problem. This dark time in my life will end. It's like when we're going up hills. You know, when you go up hills, when you're hiking up a really big hill, it really sucks. It's really, you know, you're really sucking air, you're really kind of pushing yourself, and it's really tiring. But the hill will always end.
Right.
The hill always ends. And then you're going down the hill, and everything's easy again, and there's no problems. Although sometimes long hills can be bad on your knees, but
Right.
but so life is like that. There are difficult times going up hills and easy times going down hills. We have to learn that we can't quit going up hills. We can't quit when the time is difficult. And, you know, suicide is one of those situations where it's rampant in today's culture because people don't know how to push through a dark time. They quit. And that's what suicide is, it's quitting. And so we have to, you know, we want our students to really be able to push through. No situation is permanent. Things always change. Difficult times become easier times. And that's what we learn on this program. So not only do you get a chance to lead, you get a chance to push yourself, you get to learn about life in a bigger picture, how to cope with that. And of course, there is the mission aspect to it as well. We do take people out into the world. We take them to Haiti. I do work in Haiti. We've been working in British Virgin Islands for the last couple of years because Haiti was shut down because of the riots. We've been all around the place. We go to Israel regularly and travel around Israel because we want people to get out there and to experience the world.
Yeah.
There's no better teacher than travel and experiencing other cultures, experiencing other areas in the world, seeing how other people live. You know, going to Haiti is one of the poorest. It is the poorest country in the Northern Hemisphere. And going there, you learn just how much you really do have and how challenging it is to work in those environments. And so we really want to challenge our students. How do you really affect change? How do you really go into an area and affect a real change that's going to be not just cultural, but also, you know, businesses, education, Christian churches, whatever it is going to be? How do you really impact that area for good so you can raise people out of their situations, out of poverty, poverty being poverty of the spirit, poverty of finances, poverty of jobs, whatever it looks like. How do we impact those areas? And most of our students are not always focusing on just the Christian aspect of that, just building churches in these areas, but also how do we build jobs? How do we, you know, educate the students? How do we educate because the education is one of the keys to get out of poverty. It's the main key to get out of poverty in these other countries. Yeah. So how do we start schools? How do we, you know, get people with jobs and finances and, you know, grow the economy a little bit in these areas? There's a whole range of things we talk about, and we try and push our students to try and understand. But it's a very challenging program, but most people can handle it. If you're of average fitness, this is for you. If you're, you know, super fit, that's great. Love to have you here as well. But don't feel like if you're not strong enough or you're not fit enough, that's just your mind, you know, creating limits for yourself. You can push through that stuff and you can achieve things. Right. And we'll get you in that place.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people of of all shapes and sizes. Really do it and then come out, and this is just very practically speaking. I've seen people that were not necessarily in shape come out in shape.
We had a guy that came in at 270 or 280 and left at 180.
Right. And I've seen people that were just like, you know, like, oh, I'm just the most non-outdoorsy. Like, I've seen some musicians, like, this is a great example. I've seen some musicians actually say, hey, you know what? For my second year, I'm going to try this thing out. And, like, you would be like, no, like, this is going to be, we'll never see you again, you know. But then they actually come out, and they are way stronger. You know, they've got a real love for the outdoors, a real love for missions.
Yeah.
But it was a process, you know, and it was because they pushed themselves. And so, you know, if you're out there, just like what Plowman's saying, and you're like, this is not for me, I would, you know, if you feel that tug, I'd definitely consider it.
Yeah, most people who do the program really didn't think it was for them either, and they come along and end up doing it, and it really changes their lives. You know, one of the things that's really important too in the program is we get to go out into the wilderness for 4 days, away from all our phones and all our technology, and just kind of dwell in nature. And that's a really important thing we seem to have lost in our culture, just the ability to dwell. And we spend time in quietness out there. We do have quiet times where everyone just spreads out in the forest and just sits quietly in the silence of the forest, which again, you don't often get a chance to do in today's world. And you kind of learn a new level of peace, a new level of rest in that place. So that's a all part of the program. And again, we do a lot of our teaching in the core classes at Morningstar, and then we take them out into the field through the SF program. So these are two of our main programs. We're going to show a quick little video here now of some testimonies from a class 2 years ago, just after they finished their final hike. So you can show that for us, Daniel. At some point.
We're just going to stare at you until...
We're going to act like we're frozen.
Let's go, SF!
The team that you build here in Special Forces and the skills that you learn, the endurance training, the perseverance that this school teaches you really helps you to complete, and I believe that we've completed this hike victoriously.
When you're doing all this physical activity, it's not just the physical like people think it is. It's definitely all in the head, because you have to keep making that decision to keep pushing, because you can do it.
You can do a lot more with a really good team than individually. I'm really self-independent, and God has really taught me that if you surround yourself with a really good team, you can definitely go a lot further.
Overall, SF has taught me a tremendous about myself, about respecting others, and just having a true family unit.
For me, SF has just taught me how to really love nature and listen to the Lord's voice a lot more clearly, and just kind of be attentive to it a lot more. I personally have never heard the Lord speak to me, and that was the first time I heard the Lord's voice on an SF hike.
All of the hikes that we've been on, they have really transformed us all. We became a family right away. We connected so well, and everyone was just best friends right away.
All things come to an end, and it really is the truth. Like, at some point, your clothes will dry out. At some point, you will make it to the end of the hike.
What makes SF is family.
Yeah, so that's the SF program. That's the guys that, again, the final hike, the 72-mile hike in 3 days, they just completed that hike, and it's very challenging. It draws a lot out of you, but again, we build up to that throughout the whole year. We learn to get better and better and stronger, and learn all the skills you need to accomplish that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
So that's two of our main electives at Morningstar University. We do have another elective on ministry elective we're working on. We're developing that right now. We started it this year. and we're going to be developing it more next year. That's for those who really want to get into ministry.
Yeah.
Those who want to be pastors, who want to be youth leaders. How do we get into that? How do we learn all about the skills required and the demands of that kind of ministry?
Right.
And then we're also looking eventually to work on a media elective.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're actually integrating media within the worship elective. So in your first year and a little bit in your second year, you get to experience what it's like to be a part of the media team here. So you learn basic things like
video editing,
running
filming,
cameras, like online hosting. We have some of our MSU students that actually learn how to operate in front of a camera. So it's really cool. We have an amazing media team here, and
and actually most of these videos you've seen today, in fact, all these videos you've seen today have been created by one of our students.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, she was a film student before she came here, but still, part of her work here was to help us with our video production.
Right.
And so we are trying to develop that more and more. So if you're interested in learning more about video production and media, that's also an elective we're moving into. Let's transition away from that now. Let's talk about life here at Morningstar.
Yeah. Man, there is always something happening at Morningstar, especially within the student life. To me, is the life of this place, right? And there's something that we have called the bunks, where the majority of the students live
in the bunks, which is about 300-400 yards away from the main facility
go
here.
Over a hill.
Yeah, it's just across the road, and there's a bunks. They all live together. They have their own kitchens, their own bathrooms. They were actually summer cabins from the old PTL days that we moved onto our site. And so most of our students live there. And we're going to show you a little video about life in the bunks, so you can kind of get a feel for where you would stay if you did come here to the school. So Daniel, you're up again.
And you're wondering what the living spaces look like, I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to enter in here. So if you come in here, you'll see we have a full kitchen. You got fridge, stove, a really nice spacious living room. As you can see, you can put whatever you want in it. They come empty, so you can decorate it however you want. It's super spacious. It's a 4-person bunk, so you'd most likely have 3 other roommates with you, but it's super fun and super spacious. Let's see what the bedroom looks like. So this is my bedroom. We have a little vanity here, full bath, and if you come over here a little bit more, you have the bedroom. So it comes with 2 beds, and like I said, you can make it as homey as you want it to be. You can hang up photos or lights, and you get to be with your roommates. So this is really fun. I love bunk life. I love getting to know my roommates. They come from all over. MSU just attracts people from all over the world, and you have friends for a lifetime.
Man, why didn't we have the bunks?
Yeah, they weren't around when we were in school.
No, I had to stay in these. We'd have to go. Well, actually, you want to know a funny story? First, I was the first person to ever live in this building.
You were indeed.
In this massive 500 square feet, right? 500,000 square feet building by myself. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
But then I went and got some apartments somewhere in Charlotte, and let's just say it was sketchy and
yeah, the bunks have definitely been a blessing for us to have them here.
Yeah.
And when the bunks fill up, we do have our hotel as well. We have a 500-room hotel here that we are part of the big facility that we have our school in. And so students who can't fit in the bunks, we put them in the hotel as well. So we do have hotel rooms here for students. You can also live off-site, of course.
Right.
But just having that versatility, just walking to class every day is really helpful.
Right.
It's a short little walk. People tend to be late still. I don't know how that works out.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
And some students tend to drive.
Yeah.
It's always interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just a short walk around. We have a nice lake here as well. You might have seen that in the video. You can walk around. So it's a great little facility. And again, if you have any questions about the school, if you have any, want to learn more about us, go to our website, morningstaruniversity.com, And there's plenty of stuff there as well about the cost of the bunks, the cost of tuition, just a lot of other information on there. And also, there it is right there. You'll see our website. You'll also see some more information about our classes. We're putting a catalog up there shortly as well. It'll go through all our curriculum and show what we're teaching. But again, if you have any other questions, you'll have to go to msuoffice@mstarm.org. I think Daniel's now showing our application process. If you're a domestic person living in America and you're an American citizen, you can apply domestically. If you're a foreigner overseas, you can definitely apply to the school as well. We do have the ability to give out visas, M1 visas here at Morningstar University. So that's all part of it as well. So we do love our international students. We have people from all over the place right now. We've got from Venezuela, Poland, England,
Africa, Europe, Switzerland,
continents and countries. There you go. All over the place, just all over the world. Also just for those who are listening today, and just as for the next couple of months, we are going to be waiving all our application fees. So you can now apply to Morningstar University for free. There's no application fee, whether you're American or foreigner. The applications are all free right now. That will go through to July. So apply now if you're interested in the school. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. We're happy to talk to you on the phone, answer emails, whatever it is you need from us, we're happy to do. But if you're talking about the worship school, Dave or Lee will happily connect with you as well, talk about the worship school. If you want to talk about the SF, I'm happy to talk to you as well about that program. But there's more information online that we haven't talked about today, so feel free to check that out. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we go today?
No, I think I just want to say this. If you feel a tug on your heart to really grow in the area of leadership and in all things, of course, rooted in the Lord, I would really encourage you to look at this. If you know someone, so I want to talk to parents out there, grandparents, go and check out MorningstarUniversity.com. It's really, I'm telling you, you wouldn't imagine. I would say we've had 1,000 or so students pass through here. And man, we've had so many transformational leaders come out of this school. And it's because there's something that's so unique here. That is, we put you in the middle of it, and you're allowed to make mistakes, but you grow from those mistakes. You're allowed to explore, kind of your space with the Lord, and it's so important to where the world is going, to where leadership is going. And I just want to encourage you, if this is something that you could kind of feel that pull, even if it's for your family or for your son, your daughter, your grandchild, really consider Morningstar University.
Yeah, we are very conscious of the fact that students are giving us their time.
Yeah.
There's one resource that's equal to everybody. You can't get it back, is your time. And we don't want to waste anybody's time. And so we're really conscious, standing before God, that you're going to give us 1, 2, 3 years of your life, and we want to make sure that's valuable. And so we are very serious about really honing into your personal life, where it is you're going and what we can do to resource you and help you get there. That's our job. That's my personal vision, is to use all the resources at my disposal to help you get to where you believe God's called you to go.
Yeah.
And to pull out all the giftings and talents and destiny that's in your life and help you walk in that path. One of our mottos is helping you find your mountain and helping you conquer it. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to give you the strength you need, the encouragement, the support, the smack around the head sometimes, whatever it is you need at the time, to help you conquer your mountain that God has put before you. And that's really our goal here. That's what I've dedicated my life to, is to help raise up a next generation of leaders. God's done a lot of work in my life. I've been all over the place, traveled all around the world, been through many different careers, from medical science to disaster relief work. And God has used all those things to bring to the table a lot of resources. And so, our desire is to see the young people today, the ones that God has called to step forward and step up, be raised up.
Yeah.
And, that's what we're here for. We're not here to become famous ourselves. We're not here for the money. We're just here to see the young people raised up, that God receives his reward.
Yes.
And his kingdom grows at this time. So again, if that's something you feel like is pulling at you, or you feel like someone you might know might need to come here, kids, grandkids, whatever it is, whoever's listening, no matter where you are in the world, feel free to contact us, and we'll do our best to help you get here and help you get on the path that God has set before you.
Yeah.
Amen?
Amen.
Well, that's all we got today, I think.
Yeah.
Nothing more to add?
Share this video.
Yeah.
With your family and friends. We'll have this available. It's you can't get more informational than this.
No.
So you can, if anyone has questions that you know of, just send them to this video and they can scan through. And
yeah.
Again, we would so love to have you at Morning Star, and it would be so awesome. So
And we can guarantee it will change your life.
It will. That's it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys watching, and happy quarantine time out there. Stay safe, stay wise.
We'll see you next week.
And we'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
All right.